Harvey. Look, my mic's not out. And my headphones are backwards. Sorry about that. I had to pull my headphone out. It was tucked into my earpiece. Oh, why do you keep wanting me to log in? Alright. Let's change some sound settings if we can. This game's pretty loud. I already got the music turned down. How do I set my push to talk button though? Alright. I don't know what I want to do. Oh, my copy's done. Be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. And for those of you that don't know, DCS stands for Digital Combat Simulator. And I stipulate combat. It's not a flight simulator. And the reason it's not a flight simulator is because there is no civilian aircraft in it as it was released. Now, you can mod it to put them in, but it's still not classified as a flight simulator. It's a combat simulator. And that's how you distinguish the two. If you could fly civilian airliners and aircraft, then it might be considered a flight simulator. But by the own developer's admission, by calling it DCS, it's not a flight simulator. Well, with that said, let's do something. Let's do a Huey takeoff demonstration. I don't have to do anything. I just sit back and watch. Wow, that's loud.
Welcome to the takeoff demonstration lesson. In this lesson, we will transition from a low altitude hover into forward flight to complete the takeoff. You should already be familiar with the pickup lesson and be able to take the helicopter off the ground and into a hover and ground effect, IGE. Use the controls indicator to monitor the position of the flight controls. One of the critical elements of this lesson is the change in the position of the controls seen as we pick up airspeed and transition the helicopter from a hover into forward flight. Pay attention to the position of the cyclic and pedals in the hover.
Guys, this
and
is
how
the
they
Huey.
operate as we accelerate forward.
Bought this DLC because I was told the flight dynamics in this particular DLC
As always,
are
it's important to make
spot on.
sure your control inputs are smooth and continuous, giving you plenty of time to balance the helicopter and keep it flying where you want it to and not where it wants to fly you. I will now bring the helicopter to a low altitude hover as demonstrated in the pickup lesson. Take a note of the positions of the flight controls. To begin the transition to forward flight, dip the nose down very slightly with a little forward stick. As the helicopter begins to move forward, the lower pitch angle will result in a slight descent, requiring a slight increase of the collective at the same time. Your goal is to minimize climb until you reach a safe climbing speed of at least 30 knots. You also want to keep the skids aligned with your ground track in case you end up on the ground. Use the pedals to keep the slip ball centered to minimize side slip, and the right instrument column to maintain heading. The vibrations indicate that you are passing through effective translational lift, or ETL, which means you are flying fast enough to be ahead of your own turbulence and the rotors are becoming increasingly more efficient in the smooth air. This results in a tendency to balloon the helicopter upward, raising the nose up and yaw left. These tendencies need to be anticipated and compensated for by pushing the stick forward to prevent an early climb and decreasing left pedal input to maintain heading. Notice the position of the flight controls now as compared to the hover position we started with. The cyclic is much more forward and right, while the pedals are almost neutral. After reaching a safe climbing speed of at least 30 knots, you can proceed with a climb to your desired altitude at an airspeed that provides the best climb rate, which is generally between 60 to 80 knots. This concludes the takeoff demonstration lesson.
Cool. I don't know what this pickup demo is. Is it talking about a hover pickup? Like a winch pickup?
Welcome to the pickup demonstration lesson. In this lesson, we will take the Huey off the ground and into a low altitude hover and ground effect, IGE, to demonstrate the initial step of a takeoff and basic hover control. For this lesson, the helicopter is lightly loaded and the weather is ideal with no wind. Control requirements will vary with increased takeoff weight and will be more difficult in windy conditions. Use the controls indicator to monitor the position of the flight controls. Remember, the flight controls of a helicopter are almost never stationary in flight, in particular the cyclic and especially during a hover. When performing a takeoff, be prepared to constantly make fine adjustments to the controls. Let's take a look at the position of the flight controls. At mission start, the cyclic and pedals are neutralized in the center. The collective is in a fully down position. Unfortunately, the starting position of the controls isn't very useful for flight. The position of the controls for any particular flight regime, including a hover, depend on airspeed, altitude, aircraft weight, payload, weather, and other conditions. However, the approximate hover position of the controls will generally be with the cyclic back and left and the left pedal pressed in. I will now set my controls in the approximate hover position. Watch the positions of the cyclic and pedals on the controls indicator. Once your controls are set in the approximate hover position, begin to very slowly raise the collective. Do this slowly enough to give yourself time to counteract any movement you detect from the helicopter. Counter any roll and sliding tendency with very light opposite cyclic. Counter any nose yaw with very light opposite pedal. Pay attention to how the cyclic is used continuously to make fine adjustments in attitude, and the pedals are used to maintain heading. Find a visual reference point well ahead of the helicopter. This will help to maintain closer visual cues like the runway markings within your peripheral vision to help you detect movement. Allow the helicopter to settle at a desired altitude and let the collective rest in place. The helicopter hovers best near the ground, where ground effect acts like an air cushion below the helicopter. Ground effect is only present to an altitude of approximately half of the rotor's diameter, or about 24 feet. It is reduced as altitude increases. Climbing above this altitude will transition you out of ground effect, OGE, which demands more engine power to maintain. Hovering out of ground effect may be impossible with high takeoff weights or in hot, high conditions. When performing a takeoff, you will proceed with the transition to forward flight from a hover altitude of about 3 feet skid height. This concludes the pickup demonstration lesson.
Well, it's not what I thought it was. Welcome to the stream. Is this a demo on cold start? Alright, so it's going to teach me to start the Huey. Haha. Like I said, guys, this Huey is payware. I don't remember what I give for it. Most planes in DCLS or DCS are 50 to 70 bucks. Some maps, if you buy the maps, they come with the planes, so be careful that you don't double purchase. Like I bought something Cliffs, and it comes with the A10. The A10A. Just to make sure my throttle's set at 0. I've done some flying in Flight Simulator, but I was told that the flight dynamics in DCS were a little more real. So we'll see. I don't have my pedals installed right now, so I'm just going to use the twist joystick as my rudders. My microphone's picking up background noise from somewhere. It might be my air conditioner. If you guys can hear it, let me know. I'm looking at the OBS meter, and it's popping back and forth while I'm just sitting here quiet. This is taking forever to load. When I click on it, it speeds up. It's doing something that I'm seeing an update down here. Cold start. My task, nothing. Alright, here we go. Notes, pause. Active pause. View panning keyboard, numpad, joystick hat. Left control, left shift, and H. I got no sound.
Welcome to the cold start lesson, Cadet.
Oh, I had to turn it up.
Today we will practice starting up the Huey and getting her ready for flight. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to begin. Before we begin, press right control and C to close the cockpit doors.
That didn't do anything. I'm pushing right control C, nothing's happening.
First, we need to provide electrical power to the aircraft. This can be done with the help of the ground crew, but we'll use onboard power. Take a look on the overhead console. On the AC power control panel, set the AC phase voltmeter selector switch to AC, and the inverter switch labeled
How do I
INVTR to
zoom in?
off.
There's no way to zoom in? I can't see this, guys. There's got to be a way to zoom. Well, it's not letting me do anything. I'm clicking on it, nothing's happening. I don't know what it's on. What's he want it on? I don't know what it's set on. How do I know what it's on? How do I zoom? Plus and minus is not working. What does it want this on? AC voltmeter selector to AC.
Now on the DC power control panel, set the main generator switch to on and the DC voltmeter selector switch to ESS bus, essential bus. Next, set the starter generator switch to start and turn on the battery. Don't worry, that's just the low RPM warning blaring, which is normal right now. Press the low RPM audio switch to acknowledge the warning. Let's also test the caution lights panel to make sure all of the lights are operative. Set and hold the test switch in the down position. Make sure all of the caution lights are on. Next, on the engine control panel, set the main fuel switch to on and the governor switch to auto. All other fuel switches should be off. On the miscellaneous control panel, set the hydraulic control switch to on, the force trim switch to on, and make sure the chip detector system is set to both.
That's not what I wanted.
Before starting the engine, we need to make sure the throttle is set to idle. The throttle is located on the grip of the collective control handle next to the pilot's left leg. The throttle is twisted left using the page up key to increase it, and right using the page down key to decrease it. Press and hold the page down key for a few seconds to make sure the throttle twist grip on the collective control handle is set to the idle stop position.
Right here, y'all.
Also, make sure the stick and pedals are in the neutral position, and the collective is fully lowered. You can check the position of the controls on the controls indicator by pressing right control and enter.
They are neutral.
To start the engine, you will need to press and hold the home key on the keyboard to pull the engine start trigger located beneath the switch box of the collective control handle. As the engine spools up, you will need to monitor the engine instruments and the clock. The engine start button needs to be held down until the gas producer speed reaches 40% or 40 seconds have passed on the clock, whichever comes first. You should also see the rotor begin to turn around 15% of gas producer RPM. If this does not happen, abort the start sequence. Whenever you're ready, begin the ignition sequence by pressing and holding the home key on the keyboard to pull the engine start trigger. Don't forget to note the time and watch the gas producer indicator.
Well, I'm holding it, nothing's happening. So something down here didn't happen. The home key's not working. The home key's not working, y'all. I don't know what to do. How do I know if it's on or off? It just says on off. It doesn't say if it's on. I'm not getting anything. I'm pressing and holding the home key. Nothing's happening. You know what? I don't think it... What is that? There's something open that keeps flipping my game over to that window. The home key is not working. Switch box of the collective handle. Cargo release. What is this? It's not telling me what that button is. Let's read this. It's not working. Zoom it in. I want to be able to read it. My home key's not doing anything. How do I know if this is set to idle? See, my keyboard quit again. It keeps switching over to OBS. Ah, my keyboard's quit altogether. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, guys. See, it's went back to OBS. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to right click it over here. It's not letting me do that either. I'm going to tell it to bring it to front. OBS is fucking with it, yo, and I don't know why. It keeps switching it out of my active window. I got no keyboard. Oh, I found the zoom button. Nice. I can't read what it's trying to tell me. Fuel is on. And it wanted that set to auto. That's right. What other switches did I have to flip? Well, I can see right now that their graphics suck because you can't read anything. Just did it again. It's switched back over to OBS. OBS, why are you doing that? Oh, we've got a... I know the gauges. It's telling me to watch the gauges, but... Is this the gas producer switch? Nope, there is not one. Alright guys, I can't stream it. OBS keeps taking over. So, sorry.